Hello, Morongo Basin and listeners around the world online at Z107.7 FM.com. This is your Z107.7 local news for Sunday, May 28th, 2023. News Director Jeff Harmatz was invited by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office to participate in a ride-along with deputies from the Morongo Basin Station. This practice is used to give citizens an insight into the activities of deputies as they respond to calls throughout their community on an ordinary day. However, Tuesday, May 24th, turned out to be anything but ordinary. With more, here's Jeff Harmatz.
On the invite of Sergeant John Scalise, I arrived at the Morongo Basin Station in Joshua Tree at noon. I was introduced to Deputy Adam Renteria, who took me on patrol in a marked sheriff's SUV. During our journey, the vehicle's radio broadcast a string of emergency calls.
Jeff says the next hour was a relatively quiet patrol through Yucca Valley until a series of calls came through the radio just after 1:15 p.m.
Then we received a report that a U.S. postal truck had been hijacked nearby. We immediately responded, coordinating with other deputies in the area to locate the postal truck, which was on the move. I kept my eyes peeled for the truck, trying to be helpful. Deputy Renteria explained that, rather than trying to catch up with the stolen vehicle, it would be more effective to get ahead of it based on its trajectory. He turned on the siren and accelerated on Altaloma Avenue in Joshua Tree, making several short stops and sharp turnarounds as new information came across the radio. The deputy told me later on that he could see I was terrified by the high speeds.
Sheriff's deputies engaged in the pursuit of the suspect along 29 Palms Highway and north through Joshua Tree. He was later identified as Louis Lugo, a 23-year-old from Fontana. Unable to catch up with the pursuit, Deputy Renteria's attention turned back to the postal vehicle, which was still running and abandoned in the eastbound lane of Paxton Road.
One witness saw that the postal truck was still moving and reported that she had jumped in and pulled the emergency brake to stop it. Deputy Renteria removed key evidence at the crime scene. An investigator from the United States Postal Service arrived to recover the postal truck, which had been moved out of direct traffic. During this investigation, which lasted about an hour, reports came in through the radio regarding the unfolding events of the pursuit.
The pursuit of the stolen truck ended in Joshua Tree when it got stuck in the sand. Deputies report that Lugo entered a sheriff's patrol car by threat of force and rammed it into a second patrol car. Law enforcement were able to subdue Lugo and he was taken into custody after he physically resisted arrest.
Deputy Renteria and I left the scene and handled one final call, a potentially violent incident at a mental health facility, before all deputies involved in the lengthy pursuit were asked to return to the station for a debriefing. I met with Deputy Renteria and Sergeant Scalise again, who said I had a particularly unusual ride-along and invited me to return for another one on a more typical day in the future.
Louis Lugo was arrested for investigation into multiple counts of carjacking, including grand theft and failure to yield, and booked into West Valley Detention Center on $100,000 bail. Thanks again to the Morongo Basin Station for inviting our news team to participate in the ride-along. That's your local news. You can hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 News, I'm Robert Hayden.